Hello everyone, Mr. Schultz here for Integrated Math 2 with 4.5c, part 3 of 3 of trigonometry. So our learn, we're going to use inverse trigonometric ratios to find angle measures. Don't forget to get your calculator out. So in this section, we will need to use inverse trig functions to solve for the missing angles. Just as the following are inverses and undo each other. So let's show you. Addition is the inverse of subtraction. All right, what's the inverse of multiplication? Or the opposite operation of multiplication is division. Well, this one's a little bit harder. What is the inverse of square roots? Or the inverse of this is a square root? Well, it would be squaring. Well, just as those are inverses of each other, trig ratios and their inverses. So the sine of something, the inverse of that would be the inverse sine, the sine inverse. So the inverse of cosine would be the cosine. And if we had the tangent, and we're like, hey, we want to cancel that one out, we'd have to find the inverse of the tangent. Well, let's get our handy-dandy calculator and find them. All right, guys, we got our calculator right here, and if you look at it, we either see the sine, the cosine, and tangent. In order to get the inverses of them, let's clear it up. It's in yellow, so we push the yellow, and then we push sine. There we go. All right, let's go on. To find the degree, use the inverse key. So if you want to find how many degrees is it, use the inverse key. So let's go on. We're actually going to now do it. Here are our examples. And this is our last page. Hopefully we can get this done within 8 minutes. So solve for the missing angle measures. All right, so we can solve for, we have like this. This is going to be the opposite and the adjacent. So the opposite and the adjacent, the tan of something is equal to the TOA. So right now we should probably TOA. We should probably write that out so we remember that. So the tangent is the opposite over the adjacent. So what we should do is we should divide 5 divided by 8. So 5 divided by 8 is 0.625. So we have 0.625 is equal to the tangent of x. So wait, what's the opposite of times something? It's division. So what's the inverse of the tangent? We're going to get the tangent inverse right here, and we're going to do it on both sides. So what we have to do is we have to put the inverse tan right here and put 0.625. Now all we have to do is hit enter, and we get 32.01 to round up. So we get x is equal to 32.01, but wait, it's degrees. Now let's do the y. Once again, hey, y it's going to be, hey, the opposite over the adjacent. So it's going to be the tangent again. So the tangent of y would be 8 over 5. So I do the exact same thing. Instead, I divide by 8 divided by 5 instead of the other one. I get 1.6. And then I'm going to just do it right now. The tangent of 1.6 is equal to 57.99. So let me write that down. 57.99 degrees equals y. Let's bring it back up so that we know that tangent of y is equal to 1.6. And then what did we do? Remember, we did the tangent inverse. And we got our answer. All right, go ahead and answer this one. I'll walk around and I will check your work for you. Good luck. All right, we're going to go on in 3, 2, 1. All right, so now we are going to do the one on the left right here. We're going to solve this one. We have x, we have the 15, and we have x into the 9. So the hypotenuse over the adjacent. So that's going to be the cosine. So the cosine of x is equal to 9 over 15. Now if we do the y, it's the opposite over the hypotenuse. So it would be the sine of y is equal to 9 over 15. Now we just have to go through the motions. Divide 9 by 15. So 9 divided by 15, and we get 0.6. So now we just have to do the inverse cosine and the inverse sine to figure out what is the degrees for the angle for x and what is the angle for y. So let's write it in. 0.6. So the cosine of x equals 0.6. And the sine of y is equal to 0.6. So now we have to do the inverse on both sides. This is just like, hey, find the inverse of, like, times 4, okay, divide by 4. So let's do it. The inverse of 0.6 is equal to 36.87. So I would write 36.87 is y. 38.87 is equal to y. But remember, it's in degrees. And then x equals, well, I didn't do it yet, so let's do it. The cosine, or the inverse cosine of 0.6. And that's 53.13. 53.13. But it's an angle measurement, so it's going to be degrees. Now for this one, I'll give you the answers, but I'll give it to you in 3, 2, 1. Before we give you the answer, remember that this is probably going to be just tangent, because we don't have any hypotenuse. We have the opposite over the adjacent, and for this one we have the opposite over the adjacent. So let's set you up. The tangent of x is equal to 18 over 12, which is equal to, divide by 6, 3/2. And the tangent of y is equal to, flip it, 12 over 18, or 2/3. Now we just have to do it. So let's do it. Give me the answers in 3, 2, 1. Alright guys, so here are my angle measurements. 33.69 degrees and 56.31 degrees. Now let me show you. You do not need to actually convert the fractions into decimals. Looking at this, I can show you right now, it will do it for you. Now we've hit that 10-minute mark, so let me tell you right now that the rest of these problems are yours to complete with your group. You have 19 problems, and I want you to work with your group, your partner, or if you're at home, or by yourself and complete this. If you are stuck, go ahead and contact me, and I will help you out as best as I can. Alright guys, I'll catch you in class, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye. This has been Trigonometry Part 3 of 3.